evening, everybody. I'll quit while I'm ahead. The flavour of the month, FTX1 and its big brother, the Optima. Took me 5 days to write the review after 2 weeks of playing with it. And I've forgotten most of it now, so you'll have to bear with me. And it took me, I thought I'll just do a little presenter, just a few pictures, and of course you get carried away, don't you? So, first picture. Why on earth am I showing you an FT817, or in this case an FT818? Before, originally QRP operating was a niche. I go back to the days when you needed a wheelbarrow just to carry the receiver. And there was home brewing, making your own gear, some of it valves, some of it semiconductor. There was a couple of firms making gear, particularly Tentec in America, and you could buy a Heathkits or a Night kit. That's a KN, not sleep. Night kit from America, and you could build single banders, mainly CW. But of course, with semiconductors and the advances, it became possible to do multi-band, multi-mode, and the likes of the QRP Plus and the things like the Elecraft range started to produce a commercially available one. But this one, produced in 2000, really broke the mold. Why? QRP could go mainstream. It can become a truly commercial product. It's multi-band, multi-function, multi-mode, has menus, does data. It has batteries, and you can sling it over your shoulder. You can work on 2 meters or 70 centimeters. Now, when they launched this back in 2000, it was at the bottom of the sunspot cycle, and everybody thought it would just nosedive. But it then became quite interesting. People were finding out they could go, 1,000 miles per watt and all the rest of it. Its drawback was the early ones blew their PA transistors and their drivers, and the battery was quite iffy. There are now alternative lithium packs to put in these things. They have over 25 years. They've sold hundreds of thousands of these. Hands up who's got one. Yeah, they're all over the place. I had to brush the dust off this, by the way, and take about 3 or 4 pictures to get it right. I was telling Max earlier. So people got out on the hills, they were walking, they were doing things. But the nature of amateur radio moves on. And now we've got things like parks on the air, poters and gardens on the air, and mills and, mountains and SOTA and all this sort of thing. We have all those things, but the leaning is towards, because of the urban environments, taking your rig out and putting it on a picnic table, with a lithium battery and operating. So it's become, the mainstream is really not so much this, it's actually transportable. And I think Yaesu have seen that market. They've also seen the Chinese taking their market for this. It's expensive to make because it's a conventional superhet inside. So it's a lot of components and a lot of work. Now with SDR coming along, software defined radio, it's become much easier and cheaper. SDR has its problems, but it's the ICOM 705. Who's got an IC 705? Yeah, right, okay. Well, this radio really took it a step further, the ICOM 705, and I think Yaesu began to see their market disappearing from them, and they began to look at it, and what was needed was market differentiation, features conscious radio, something that would appeal to everybody. So we'll see how the next 25 years go. It's a year late. The Americans got it first, but this is the FTX1. The Americans got it first. They had quite a few problems with it. There's a current problem with the APRS, get this right, or automatic packet reporting system, thank you, messaging. There's replying to messages. There are all kinds of little problems. because once you've got the internet and you can download and upload software like shelling peas, it's not a real issue. What this is showing, as I say, the people with 710s and DX10s will recognize this sort of a screen. But what you've got here, of course, is HF and VHF. It could also be 400 megs, it could be UHF. In this radio, you've got, in effect, two radios. You've got an HF radio, which is good up to 50 megahertz, and then you've got a VHF radio. Now, you'll see in a minute that the IC705 only has one antenna socket. This has two separate antenna sockets, so you can have both working simultaneously. As it comes, if you look at the literature, it doesn't have 5 megahertz and it doesn't have 70 megahertz. And there's nobody on these bands, so why does everybody want them? But they have to have it. It's very in common with used to with a radio. Of course, you used to have to risk your warranty, open it up, find a chip with tweezers, soldering iron that was far too big, and take out a chip or make a link. You had to do that in the FT817. This, you just hold down two buttons and switch on, and it converts it to what they call C2 spec, and you have those two bands, and they stick there. They stay there. You can convert it to European. You get a separate sheet, and you look down the sheet for what it is that you're wanting. Naturally, we've got similar functions to you'd see on a DX10, attenuators, IPO, which I'll refer to later, digital noise, AGC, we've got settings for that. Of course, in such a small radio, you can't get everything on the front panel. It's one of the issues I have with the DX10. There's too much on the front panel, particularly around the VFO, main tuning knob. They've gone like the 710 route, and we've just put four down there. And you've got these controls here. You're trying to do an awful lot with a minimum of controls. So whereas you would find in one configuration of the display, that might do a couple of things. When you change it, oh, wait a minute, you need this one. That takes getting used to with this. And the way that you operate the menu systems is pop-ups by pressing pop-ups or pressing this function. But I wish I brought a 6 meter with a function control there, pushing that in and looking at menus. And we'll take and there's a lot of criticism of Yaesu menus being too complicated, but they've noted that and moved on. So on the top, we have two sets of buttons. This is a left-hand side. This one gets you into wires X and fusion because this is built into it. You're looking at something very similar to an FTM 500 in this radio with its capabilities. This is a sort of preamp. It's not a conventional preamp. It will raise the signal, but apparently you cannot detect noise being raised. Priority memory group in that one. A lot of these buttons are dual function or more, and I just need to refer to number. I know what that is. Priority memory group. It has memories that are stored in banks. There's 999, and but you've also got priority memory groups that it would pull up straight away. Sorry, primary memory group it's called, not priority memory groups. What's PW? Yeah, apart from my employer, yes. Pardon? PMG. Priority registered display in PMG. Details of primary. Yeah, well, it's there. Memory auto grouping, yes, right, okay, and band changing. One of the annoying features of this is I am used to looking at a screen, as we saw before, pressing the 3 meg side of the display, and it either pulling up a band scope or a keyboard or whatever, and it doesn't do that. It's you get that with an IC705, and This band button, a short press will actually take you to the next band up. A long press will give you the full screen, and you can select one, and it will stay there, and then it will disappear. That's right. Yes, you can pull up a keyboard on the screen, and you can actually type a frequency, and it will jump bands to that. And mode is exactly as you would expect it to be. It pulls up lower sideband, upper sideband data, FM, AM, all the rest of it. It pulls that up there. NW was NW. Yes, sorry. Yes, that's right. It switches between the preset filters, the filters, and then you can actually narrow them and adjust them from the front panel. That's the limit of my knowledge or memory. On the right-hand side, this one, I'll come back to that one. Easy one. Guesses? Guesses, and you can have a house mark because the teacher doesn't know. Right to memory, and yeah, and switch between memory or VFO on there, and the split. Now, it's tempting, and in the advertising and even in the wording on the literature, it leads you to believe that this thing has two receivers, and it doesn't. And that's a big disappointment to people like that have a dual button receiver. But the space is somewhat limited, and it is a sub receiver, right? It is a sub receiver, and you don't get the audio out of the sub receiver because it's sharing the same route. So in other words, if you're calling a station who's listening higher or lower, then you can, as soon as you press the transmit key, it will go to the other frequency that you've set 5 up, 5 down, all the rest of it. But it's a bit of a disappointment, I think, when you first see the actual thing. On the back, we have these two antenna sockets that I told you about. There's an earth tag there, external speaker, external power, and this CAT connector, which will go to the power amplifier, linear amplifier, or it will connect to an auto tuning antenna, either in a box, a remote one, one that goes in the back of this actually for up to 10 watts, or a mobile antenna like the one parked outside, the APRS 120. Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So it's for the linear. That's right. The sidekick. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, it is. You'll have that on the back of your yes. This is it. Where it scores over the ICOM 705 is when you put the battery on. It's so damned heavy. It leans back at a beautiful viewing angle. And it's actually a much better viewing angle than when you have the amplifier attached, which is a nuisance. This is a perfect angle for on a desk. On this side, we'll come to it again, are two things there. That's where the memory card goes in and that we will come to later. It's a removable panel, and you replace it with another one. This is the full back of the radio. And you'll notice there's a stud there for mounting it on a tripod, but it's so heavy it might fall over. This is the battery. Now this battery is double the capacity of the heavy duty battery that you can get for an IC705. It's 6.400 milliamp hours. It's a lithium-ion battery. It takes 7 hours to charge. Right, it can be charged through a USB socket on the side of it, but you can charge. Yeah, it's an overnight job. They don't provide a charger. In other words, they don't provide a charger, and they don't sell a charger. They tell you to buy a 45-watt wall-wart charger. Anything less, and it won't. And if you try to charge it at less than 13.8 volts, my memory's good tonight. 13.8 volts. It won't necessarily charge within 7 hours. It's definitely an overnight job. To its credit, you can, with this on the back of that, and compared to a 705 with the heavy duty battery, which is half that capacity. This weighs nearly 500 grams more. So it's a chunky beast. Yeah, well, I'm coming to that. Yeah. That bit I do know. You can charge the battery whilst it's actually operating, or you can charge the whole thing through the USB socket on the side, but it says switch it off or do it otherwise at your peril. It slides on and it locks, and it's very stiff to get off, and there's a catch on the side, and I was trying to push the catch in and go like this. It's a two-handed job, and of course you pull the catch out, not do that. Right, okay. Don't pay too much attention to this. This is the only block diagram I could find. It's a bit of a ruse. They're keeping their powder dry. They're not telling you everything. And some of the legends on this are just plain wrong. I won't go into it, but it's very difficult to fathom. But if you just look at this as basically the HF side there, and this is the VHF, UHF side. Like all good SDRs, they need a good attenuator. This is a 10 band attenuator. Sorry, a bandpass filter 10 band. There's an attenuator there, and there's something that Greg and I scratched our heads with for about 3 or 4 days, and I'll mention that in a minute. The bandpass filter, before you get to your RF amplifier, you convert the analog signal. It's actually a superhet, is the HF. So it's not a pure hybrid, it's a superhet, and it's mixed down. There's an analog to digital converter, a field gate array where all the clever stuff happens, a digital signal processor from digital to analog, and your audio. Here is the, they've put that as 1.4, that's wrong. This is actually, this is the sub receiver here. And you can see it's, once it gets to the mixer, it's sharing the same line, and why you can't have the audio. Then completely switching over, of course, you get, you need different filters. These bands are, well, that's about 3 times the frequency of that. So one wouldn't do. And these two, and it goes, these green lines are wrong. And it goes down, pardon? A lot of it's wrong because they don't want to give it away to the opposition. And you cannot, the advanced manuals and the technical manuals and Yaesu are not producing a block and a circuit diagram because they're actually playing catch up with the 705. So, but you've got these, it then becomes a straight receiver rather than a superhet. And you have the same principle here, analog to digital field gate array, digital signal processor. And that's wrong. According to this, the digital display only works on VHF, UHF, according to that block diagram. Yeah, well, say no more. But that's the basis of it. So let's take a look at it. You can have your display in a number of basic ways, and it's done by pressing one of the buttons on the right-hand side around the VFO. You can have, this is what I described earlier. You've got HF on that one, and you've got that VHF on the other side at the moment with 2 signal audio. But this won't work because the active side is that. So you can't transmit on that. You cannot switch. The active channel is always on the right-hand side. We've pulled up the oscilloscope, which you can measure incoming. You can look at incoming and outgoing audio, and the radio has a 3-band parametric equalizer. And if, pardon? So yeah, and I don't like them. Amateur radio is about talking. Amateur radio is about making friends. This is just my pet noir, bête noire, and it's not about saying, "Can you hear me, mother?" and I want more bass. I noticed on the FTX, in fact, I replied to it. A man had set his bass to get the best signal in his headphones, and I just wrote back and said that might be all very well on FM, but that doesn't cut it on HF. You want a punchy signal, get rid of the bass. So as it comes, the audio is pretty darn good. Now then, this is what you'd consider to be the waterfall, and this is where we too struggled, because remember I said it has an attenuator, and you punch this screen and up comes some attenuator settings, but they're not the attenuator. They're the attenuation of that display only. And you can, as I'll explain in a minute, using that attenuator, which you can get from the front panel, can be extremely effective on an SDR. But we've got, yeah, it's also saying that the tuning is in fixed mode. You've got a cursor mode and a fixed mode, and that's showing the transmit and receiver on the same frequency. If you go split, of course, you'll see the receiver on separate to the transmitter. That's telling you that actually on the main display, the scope will be full screen. And the scan speed you can alter for how fast this works. Oh, that's right. You see, there's no attenuator on there, and this is all noise. 2 meter FM noise, actually. Just one thing to mention is at the top, you'll see some other legends. They're telling you what the basic settings are. Now, I'm on FM, but I've actually, the last menu I entered was to set the break-in for my CW to automatic, and it's still set there. You can set all these parameters on different for each band. Right, okay. I think I've missed something out. Yeah, well, it was actually it was the menu screens. I've not included the photograph. I was finding myself coming back by about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The menu, if you pull up the menus, which is on the function button on the right-hand side, they've improved it. In some radios, it's a long scroll down, press it into a sub-menu. It's a shame I haven't got that photograph. But you'll be able to see it a little later. It's in 3 pages. 3 pages, so you haven't got the whole gamut of what it can do. You've got the CW page on page 1, and then you press the forward button, you get the sideband page for all the settings on SSB or AM or FM modes. And then on the 3rd page, you get all the clever digital stuff settings for APRS and the basic radio settings as well. So I'm sorry I didn't do that. Now, this is, so I was explaining that the way that people use their radios has changed. So what they've done is they've produced a bolt-on or click-on amplifier unit. And this is 100 watts with an automatic tuner, automatic antenna matching unit, sorry, in it. And it's meant for coax antennas, which of course all the automatic matching units have a very limited impedance range. So it's meant, but there are some clever tricks coming, of course, because there was only one antenna socket on the back of that radio. This is the back of it. Now, by magic, it has 2. These antenna sockets are for the HF side, and this is a dedicated one for the VHF UHF side. So what you can do is you can have 2 meters and 77s here. You can actually plug a 6 meter or 4 meter aerial into one of them. You can have your main HF aerial there. If you've got more than one HF aerial, you can actually select them from the front panel, and those legends I told you about will tell you which one is active, and you can set them differently for each band. Obviously, it's got the fan and the standard power socket that fits ICOM as well as Yaesu. I haven't even got the Yaesu one out of the bag yet. And of course there was the cat connector, which has been extended. How do they do it? The front unit clicks into some little catches here, and then there's a main catch on the top. But in order to connect one to the other, you have to transfer what you've got. There's your cat connector, your speaker connector, your power connector, and 2 aerials, 2 BNC push-ons. And this thing just clips over the top, which I think you will see in, there you go. You can see it clearly there. That's the catch. and it clicks on. They've had to make a recess for these cables to go into here, and when they're brand new, they're a bit of a fiddle, but they gradually get into the recess in the end. If you don't plug that in hard enough, as I did I panicked one day because I plugged it in and then I went to the power control through the menus and it still said 10 watts. Incidentally, the power is adjustable in 0.1 of a watt on the QRP side, so you can run 0.1 of a watt if you want to work a miles per watt QRP contest, or set it to 5 watts, which is normal QRP. And then, of course, when you plug it in, if you plug that in firmly enough, you can adjust the power right up to 100 watts. It's fully adjustable. So there we have it. Now, in the accessory range, initially, there was no means of putting this power unit somewhere else and having just the thing on the bench. They've now produced at humongous cost, £74 to be precise, extension cables that these plug into. But of course, you've got a bunch of about 5 of them. You don't necessarily honestly need that. You need a line socket for this cat connector here. And they do it in 2 lengths, a 3-foot or a 10-foot. The Japanese work in imperial measurements, not because they had an emperor, but the influence of the English and the Americans. I mean, Mr. Armstrong was making their battleships back in 1910 and everything was feet and inches. So there you go. That's a close-up of it, and you can see it, and you can also get a better picture of the battery connector there. I bet you've done it. I've certainly done it. Tried to connect that with the battery still on. You soon learn that you can't do that. The battery has to come off to do that, to connect it up. But it makes a very compact transceiver, and it's 20% smaller than either a 710 or a DX10 when you get it. So it's very portable in a way. And if you've only got a limited shack space, it's excellent. Taking a look at the underside, it has flip-up feet, but I did tell you that the angle is nowhere near as good than this, and I have to stand mine up to look at it. Just a word on these louvers here. Quite a time ago, standard method of production for Yaesu is an aluminium casting that runs down the middle inside with one board on one side and one board on the other. And naturally, they want to keep the PA cool. So what they do is this fan, which is near silent, they're brilliant fans on all their gear. That's slightly bigger than the VHF radios. Sucks air in through and it blows it right through there. It sucks it right, sorry, and blows it out the back. And that is excellent. One thing you will notice, if you're just using the transceiver pack on its own at 10 watts, for some reason, the top on that right-hand side gets warm. So I can only assume that there's a red hot microprocessor or the power, but it does it on receive. So it's not necessarily the PA transistors, but I'm not taking it apart to find out. And if you notice, there's another this is the transceiver unit. There's another 1/4 inch camera socket on the bottom as well as on the back. The handle, right? The handle. Let's say it on the box. This is a field radio. The American word field means you take it out in the country. They give you the 4 feet for the other side, but they want £7.99, I think it is, for the handle. You have to buy it. This is a field radio. Yeah. See, these pegs for this, without those raised, it just comes up dead level, so it's all right on a shelf. They've produced a range of accessories because, again, it's marketing. If you look at the FT817 and 818, the Chinese went overboard. They've produced loads and loads of low-cost accessories for the FT818 and IC705. Every man and his dog with a 3D printer can make an accessory for them. So they're getting ahead of the game in the sense that they're producing this range of accessories. The battery you get, you would buy a spare because you get one with the radio, and if you buy the Optima straight away with the head unit and the amplifier, the battery is included. That's very big of them, isn't it? There's a 10-watt QRP auto tuner, which we'll take a look at in a little while. But again, it's for coax. It has a limit of about 800 ohms maximum impedance and down to about 6 or 7 ohms. There is a cooling fan for data modes because if you're running FT8 or the cooling fan is for the portable and it clips onto the back of the portable because that big fan, of course, is only present on the Optima. There's a long wire tuner. If you've ever seen one for an IC705, have you seen one? Yeah, about that. It's a dead ringer. I'm wondering if they're getting some Chinese company to make it because it's a dead ringer for it. It will automatic packet reporting system. Of course, it needs to know where you are, so that it needs an engine and an antenna APRS, and that is an accessory because not everybody wants to do that. There's a Bluetooth unit. I love Bluetooth. I got on about it endlessly. Their Bluetooth system is very good I use it mobile. Some of you will have worked me using it. The infamous carrying handle. This is an existing product, a 100-watt external antenna matcher unit. It's for long wires. Now, if you buy that, because don't forget the back of the radio is for matching to a coax, and the remote. It's an existing product that you would put outside and run coax to. If you buy that, you're spending more money than you need to do, because if you buy, who of you saw Max's talk on his antenna at home? Vertical. The Super Rybakov, and he got this little tuner unit. It's a generic unit in the sense that it'll run 100 watts. You can drive it on the low power radio. It samples, but it has a band change, just like there's a cat type cable, and it just comes as a standard cable, quite a long one. And you buy if you've got a Yaesu, a Kenwood, or an ICOM, you buy the short lead about that long for a Yaesu, and you will have spent about £45 less than if you'd bought that. So you don't need two. I would say, I can't write this in a magazine, by the way. So you can. It would be better value if you wanted to do that. There is a protection guard, and I've seen about 3 versions of it, and I got a problem with the one that's in a box that I'll show you. And then there's the ATAS active antenna, which I put tuning antenna because it's automatic. And then there's a base radial kit because they suggest that you can use it on a balcony or portable. But all of these compromise antennas are compromisers, and they're not very efficient, particularly base loaded and particularly with the radial kits. Get yourself a long piece of wire. It's much cheaper and more effective. There's no substitute for metal in the sky. But if it's all you can do, it's all you can do. That's the 3-foot or 10-foot Optima cable. We'll take a quick look at some of these accessories. This is the 10-watt QRP antenna matching unit. You can't run it with the battery on. Sorry, is that right? I've forgotten. I'm convinced you can't run it with a battery. Or is that the spacer for the battery? I can't remember. We'll see in a minute. There's a spacer to accommodate the battery. That's right. And then the matching unit goes on there. But of course, for this automatic matching unit to work, it needs a CAT connection, and the antenna socket for it's only for HF is on this, so you can still use the VHF UHF there, and you put this on and you put this onto the back of it, and you extend the cables into sockets on the back of this. You can see it in the right hand side there. Yeah, of course it makes sense. You can to keep the battery on it, but now it becomes a really heavy beast, and it's yeah. Well, you need a car. You're not going up a mountain, I don't think, with it. This is the clip-on cooling fan for your data modes. There is that now. Does that or does that not look like an ICOM auto tuning unit? Works exactly the same as that. I haven't compared the prices of the two. I have one at home, and I might just try it. This is the GPS unit, which plugs into a socket on the side of the radio. Now, I said there was that panel on the other side where the memory card went. This is a Bluetooth unit, and you take off that plate, and it creates a little bump on the side, and this clips on over. This is actually a double-sided sticky that secures that. There's a socket on the other side that plugs into a matching plug on the inside of the radio, and then that captures it. So, but this is the brilliant. It's commercial, actually. It's Vertex Standard, which is their commercial arm, and you can drive along and nobody can hear the car. I don't know how they do that. It's the infamous handle again. This is the mobile antenna that I mentioned. It's quite heavier. It weighs just under 1 kilo, and it does need a very substantial mount. That is the optional. Is it three? It's over. I think it's £329. I think it is. I had hoped to produce one in the flesh tonight, but I've got a phone call last Friday to say would I like to borrow one, and they said yes. I said yes, of course, and they said, well, I'm sorry, but DHL's just gone. We can't dispatch it till Tuesday because Monday's a holiday. So I will have one shortly. These are the radial kits, and I say they're loaded and relatively short, really, in real terms. So that's what I could tell you. There's a lot more that I could tell you. Are you with me so far? So let's have an actual look at the beastie. They haven't produced a backpack for it yet, but it won't be long. That's it. February? Sorry? All right. That's it. Okay. Very quiet in here, isn't it? In here we have the amplifier unit. It's bigger than I expected. I mean, when they first mooted it over a year ago, you expected it to be the same size as an IC705, but now can you see why it's bigger? This is the Optima. An Optima is this is £1,600. An Optima is 2003. Is that right? Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. So if you compare that to, say, a 705 and a Zygo amplifier, or indeed a second-hand Elecraft, you're looking at not too far away. But this radio actually does more, as I hope I've demonstrated. And you can see from the back that that is so. Right. Okay. We have in here, I'm not going to get this one out, the Bluetooth adapter, because we haven't got any static protection mats around. This is the GPS antenna unit that plugs into the side. I'll just leave it there. And it's just literally that big. But don't try and work APRS inside a metal box. What have we got here? This is the fan unit. Pardon? Oh, no, it's not. I've been asked for it back. That is the amazing Bluetooth headset. And, SBRM20, I think it's. Now, something very, very strange happened. I got this lump of numb plastic, and somebody will be making these with a 3D printer. I bet they're already at it. It's not expensive. I can't remember the exact price. Now, it slides on from the front onto there, and these are the locating holes, and you get one missing. You get 2 thumb screws, and you get that, right? Okay. I've seen people doing videos. You know, these people that make a video a day just to get the likes, and they're putting it on, and they're screwing it in, and that's it. And they take about 10 minutes to tell you that between the adverts. My version doesn't have anywhere to screw it in. I think when you tighten that up onto the bottom of that, because it's quite tight to get the thing on, Yaesu have looked at this and thought, we can save some money here, and we don't have to thread the undersides. Unless this is a complete freak. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry?
Printing.
Oh, right, somebody's done it. Yeah, right, okay. Because they can. I think they've modified it to save money, but I need to confirm that. It just, I looked and looked and looked and see if you could take screws out and put, but no, it doesn't work. Right. So I think I've shown you just about everything I can and told you what still waiting here is the tuner unit that goes on the back of that. And yes, the battery does stay on. So there you are. Have it, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I know now. It sounds a lot of money. It does a lot of things. Would you swap what you have for it? It's trying to be all things to all people. And it goes a long way to that, I think. But there's still room for maneuver. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to check the video description where you'll find additional information about the video you've just watched, along with links to products used and to the HADAS website. If you enjoyed this presentation, please feel free to hit that like button. Maybe you'd also consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so we can let you know the next time we release another video. Thanks again for watching.